what are you building towards? And this is the problem that I sometimes have with this, and maybe you can answer because the Detroit model, quote unquote, everyone talks about. Aaron Glenn came in with Dan Campbell in Detroit, and they took an organization that was in the dumps and they turned it around, and they did it with toughness and they did it with mentality. And what did they win? Nothing. They went to the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. They had a huge lead and they blew it. Last year, they got dog walked at home in as the best team in the NFL in a home game. They got destroyed by a rookie, gave up basically 50 points. Aaron Glenn's defense gave up 50 points. So what is it translated to? A couple of good regular seasons? Like, is that the goal or is the goal to win? And I think a big part of that is the quarterback. In Detroit, when they traded Matthew Stafford, the plan wasn't to stick with Jared Goff. The plan was to go draft a young quarterback. And then they liked what they saw in Goff, so they decided to stick with him. But ultimately, in those big games, he hasn't been good enough. What is the plan at quarterback for this team? Because you could build mental toughness, you could build a mentality. And it comes back to what we started with. We said the Patriots, right? The Patriot way. That was how they did things. They had Tom Brady. Justin Fields is not Tom Brady. We know what he is at this point. Is this the plan? Do they fully believe in Justin Fields? Is that going to be the plan moving forward? Because it seems to me like it is. And even if that's the plan, I don't know how you're going to win enough football games, or even if you make the playoffs, I don't see how you win a championship with Justin Fields as your quarterback.
Honestly, I think he was the best available quarterback to fit what they wanted to do.
And
And
you wanted
now,
him, by the
and I
way.
wanted Justin. I
You
wanted
texted
Justin,
me
and I wanted Milroe. I said, hey,
exactly.
get Justin for a couple of years, bring in Milroe. I think the game has gone to that dual threat quarterback. Like that, for defense to account for a quarterback makes a huge difference with game schemes. Your defense coordinator has to do extra film study to find a way to account for an extra runner in the box. I think that puts a lot of stress on a lot of defenses. On top of being an aggressive defense on Aaron Glenn's side. So you're saying we want to get the ball back, and then we want to be able to ground and pound. And then if you want to load the box, we want to give it to Garrett Wilson. It's not, oh, we want to give it to Garrett Wilson first when we know you're double in double coverage, and then we can't run the football. So I think they're putting this thing together the right way. I would have loved to see them go get Milroe. I told you I thought they were going to get him. I think from a quarterback standpoint, you want to have a guy behind your starting guy that mimics him as close as possible. And who mimics him the best coming out of that draft, other than Milroe. So, obviously Justin Fields, I was excited that we got him. Also, adding the tackle and going to get an offensive guy. I was hoping that they were going to go get a defensive tackle, but I just see what they're trying to do from that standpoint. I think they're working very strategically. With Aaron Glenn being a guy that was in the scouting department, I think a lot of the picks and a lot of guys that they're going to bring in is going to be more of a bigger thought, man, in bringing in. It's not the best available player like the New York Jets have previously been doing. They used to go get the best available player. No, I think Aaron Glenn said, hey, who's the best player that fits what we're doing overall? And we're starting to see that.
The problem is once you get to the playoffs and you're down in the fourth quarter, you're down 4 points, who's going to lead you? Who's that quarterback? Now they seem to think that that guy could be Justin Fields because I understood bringing him in and trying to shift the offense. But if you were going to go draft a young quarterback behind him, like you said, that made sense. But to bring him in and not draft anyone behind him, not even go after Shador Sanders, who people were considering one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, and all of a sudden there in the fifth round. Like, it seemed like a no-brainer as these quarterbacks are falling to just take a shot at one of them. And yet everything they did in the draft tells you more that no, we're fully buying in. And then a week later, Jordan Travis retires, right? And so,
Well, maybe that was the game plan until he surprised everyone with retirement.
oh, but that's not good enough. If you didn't know going into the draft that this guy had retirement at least on the table, like, then you're not doing your job properly, no?
I mean, it's hard to, obviously I've heard guys, David Garrard, you remember him? You
Hmm.
remember the old time guy, man? He was out there full time OTAs, being a leader. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm retiring, by the way. I can't do this anymore. Like, so it's hard for a coach to get a sense of that when, from a mental standpoint, a lot of guys don't want to talk about that side of it. Like, you don't know what he dealt with mentally. And a lot of guys don't express that because this is a tough guy sport. And, you want to suppress the mental health side of it. But dealing with injuries and, dealing with identity crisis and all these different things plays a part in it, man. And, I think it was a surprise to everyone, even Jordan. You don't want to say I'm done. The feelings tell you you're done.
Yeah.
The emotions, the love and the passion tells you you're done, or your body's telling you you're done. So mentally, you're like, I'm done. So, I think it was a surprise for them, and I don't think they were planning on just going to get Justin Fields without bringing in a backup quarterback because they thought they had their guy in Jordan Travis. So it's the game. It's part of the game. We'll see how things go in training camp. Hopefully that room is competitive. I hate to say, hey, he's the starting guy because it doesn't push the starting guy. So, I want to see how competitive they can be and building a roster where the next guy up is going to push the guy in front of him.